What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano. Today we're going to be talking about something called ulnar deviation. Okay, so this comes from a book I read recently, and it's called What Every Pianist Needs to Know About Their Body. It's basically a scientific book, a human anatomy book, specifically for piano players as well as organ players, about how to move and how to even sit down and basically control your body when you play the piano. Okay, because when you play the piano, a lot of people think it's all about your fingers, right? Your fluttering fingers type thing. It's not really about that. It's a whole body control, and it's a lot of full body movement as well, going down from your legs all the way up to your chest, to your head, to your neck, to the way you're sitting. All that matters and affects how you play the piano as a whole. And a lot of times what people do, especially when it comes to things like octaves, when you have to reach, or if you're playing some kind of arpeggio, or if you're playing some kind of scale, or you have to jump, make some kind of big jump. Say you play C down here, and then you try to reach up to like a E sharp or something, or D sharp. What happens a lot of times is people turn their wrist like this. So this is the wrist perfectly straight, and then they turn their wrist to where their fingers are pointing to the outside of their body. Okay. And it's called ulnar deviation because in your forearm you have two bones. You have your radius, which connects to your thumb side, and then you have your ulnar, which connects to your pinky side of your hand. Okay. So this would be the radius in the right hand. This is the ulnar. Left hand is the opposite, right? This is the radius in your left and the ulnar on the pinky side that way. And again, what people do is they end up turning their wrists like this, okay, when they may try to make these big jumps or move on the piano. And what that happens, and what the book explains, is that not only do you have these two bones in your forearm that are now misaligned, but really the more important piece is the tendons in your forearm are now constricted. And the way it's described is in your hand, and you can feel this if you do this right now. If you flip it over so your palm is facing up, you have this kind of indentation in the middle of your wrist, right? And you can feel this. It's like an indentation on both wrists, right at the beginning where your forearm kind of goes into the palm. That's your carpal tunnel, okay? So that's a literal tunnel where the tendons from your forearm go into your hand and then they connect to the fingers, and that's how you can move your fingers, right? So your fingers don't have muscles, they have tendons, and the tendons go all the way from your forearm through this carpal tunnel and they extend into your fingers. And what happens is if you do this deviation, this ulnar deviation where you're reaching like this or this way in the left hand, is the tunnel constricts. So now the tendons are basically pinched and they have a very hard time of getting into the fingers where they should be. And that's how you develop carpal tunnel syndrome. And you basically lose control of your hand and your fingers because the tendons are now damaged in your hand and in your fingers, and they don't work like it used to. And it's basically like your arteries and your veins, right? Your arteries, I guess, specifically, is when you eat too much junk food, too much fat food or fried food, your veins and arteries constrict, right? And why do they constrict? Because there's a lot of fat buildup. So the blood can't flow through the artery and get to your heart or get to your body like the way it should, because your fat is blocking the tunnel, the artery that the blood is trying to flow through. Similar to your carpal tunnel syndrome as well, is because this tendons have been pinched so much because of the way you're moving your hand and your forearm that the tendons constrict, the tunnel's constricted, it's closed off, and now you have a lot of problems going forward. So I'm bringing this video up just to bring attention to this fact, to try to avoid this ulnar deviation. And instead of reaching like this, with just your hand and just using your fingers only, you should be rotating your entire forearm and your entire elbow. Everything should move with your hand. Again, a lot of people think playing the piano is all about just fingers, right? But it's really, again, a full body activity that you do. And so when you start playing scales and you have these little jumps, you're just going up in seconds, right? You should still be moving your whole elbow, your whole arm, so everything's in a line, just to get that practice. Right? You can even use one arm to push it so that you know you're doing this. And you don't want to be super stiff, like if you're playing scales. Now what you want to do, you want to have that full movement, especially when you're doing something like jumping. If you have these big jumps, right? You don't really want to stretch your hand and stretch because you're going to cause damage. You want to move your whole arm with it as well. And that's when the pedal comes in, right? When we try to play legato, you can use that pedal so the sound's sustained and you can move your elbow and your wrist at the same time. You don't have to be holding down this key the whole time while you try to reach this key up here because it's impossible. It's not going to work unless you have massive hands. All right, so that's where the pedal comes in. It can help you out do that as well. So just something to bring in mind, keep in mind as you work on practicing and playing the piano. Every 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, just stop and try to reevaluate how you're playing. Did you play super stiff, super tight? Are you moving your elbow and your hand and you have that full body movement? Or are you not doing that? And you're going to cause issues down the road, okay? So again, you just want to be super loose, stay super mobile while you're playing. Right? It's going to be you're going to be able to play a lot faster, a lot smoother, and it's going to sound a lot better because you're going to be able to hit those notes in time and do what you need to do. So if all that helps, let me know. Drop a comment. Again, my name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano.